Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. In this video we are sewing. This is Simplicity Pattern 1465. It's a great skirt pattern. I love it. We're going to be doing view C. View C only has 4 pieces to cut out, the front, the back, and the 2 facing pieces. The 2 facing pieces need to be cut out of interfacing, so don't forget to do that. I will say though that the fabric I used in this video, I do not like it at all. I've made this skirt twice before and I have blog posts of them and photos over on the blog at brittanyjjones.com. You can go check out when you're done here. Those came out so much better than this did, and obviously it's because it's the fabric, because I did everything the same. The fabric though is what I don't like. It was cotton, and even though I pre-washed it, as I wore it, it started to get baggy, which I don't like that, and it wrinkled so bad. The other ones didn't do that, so that's why I don't like it. And I'm not a big fan of the print either, but you know, sometimes you get prints, they work, sometimes they don't work, whatever. But that's not gonna stop me from sewing it right. I'm gonna, you know, sew it and see how it looks. But yeah, it's not one of my favorite prints. But I did still do a blog post on it, so you can check that one out when you go over there on the blog too. But we're gonna sew it anyway because it's still a great pattern. Just because, you know, I used the wrong fabric, I'm not gonna say don't sew it. Absolutely not. It's a great pattern to sew, especially if you want to go ahead and take another step and insert the zippers. Maybe you've been shying away from them because they intimidate you. No intimidation. We're gonna sew this invisible zipper in today. All right, so go ahead and cut your pieces out and let's get sewing. So to get started, we have to put some stay stitching at the top of our skirt. Now make sure you have your pattern guide close by, because it has arrows in there showing you the directions that you should put your stay stitching in. And so that's what I'm doing right now. I'm putting the stay stitching in the front of my skirt, and when I'm done with the front, I'm going to move on to put the stay stitching in the back. Once you have your stay stitching in, then we can move on to putting the darts in our front and backs of our skirt. And for me, I like to pin at the widest part and move down to the point. However you pin your darts, go ahead and do it. You may start at the point and work your way up to the widest part. Just get it pinned so we can knock them out. Once you have them pinned do it for all sides. And then we're going to go ahead and sew them down. Now make sure you back stitch at the widest part, and then you just sew straight on down. Sew in that angle so that you end up at your point, and then you just sew right off of your fabric. Don't back stitch at all. And to close it up, we're going to put a couple knots with the thread. We're just going to knot it a little bit. That is going to keep it from having a pucker at the tip. And that is what your dart should look like. And you want to go ahead and press it toward the center front and the center back of your skirt. The next step would be to go ahead and pin your sides together, and we're going to sew on a 5/8 seam allowance all the way down the side of our skirts. Make sure that you stay on your guide. You don't look at the needle while you're sewing, and go ahead and remove your pins as you're going. Back stitch at the end, and then you can go ahead and press down your seam and go ahead and finish your edges off however you finish your edges. So I went ahead and did that for both sides, and now I want to finish off the seams of my middle back as well. So this right here is the center back where the zipper will go, and like I said, I went ahead and finished off those edges so that it'd be nice and clean when I put my zipper in. And so I'm just going to go ahead and pin those sides together to prepare them for my zipper. So it's many different ways to install zippers. If this one is confusing to you, I'll make sure I put some in the description box. I'll link out so you can go and see which one is best for you. But in this one, I decided I want to try a new one actually. I'm going to start where the green pin is, and I'm going to sew down the end and go ahead and finish off the seam of my skirt. I'm not going to mess with the zipper part. That part is still open. I'm just working on the bottom end of my skirt with my regular machine stitch. I'm just going to go ahead and finish that off. I'm on a 5/8 seam allowance. I'm removing my pins as I go, and I'm going to back stitch at the end. So now I can go ahead and focus on putting the zipper in without having the bottom of the skirt open. And so now I just want to show you that I did in fact go ahead and put my zipper foot on. And mine, they just pop in place. It has a release button in the back. And all machines come with a zipper foot. That is the regular universal foot right there for straight stitching and zigzag. And that is the zipper foot, not the invisible zipper foot. It's just the regular basic zipper foot. And you do not need an invisible zipper foot to put an invisible zipper in. So I decided that I want to just go ahead and attach my zipper tape to the right side of my seam allowance. And so that is the back of the zipper where the coils are. if you don't know, and that is the front of it for the invisible zipper. And you're going to take the right side of the zipper and you're going to put it down on the right side of your seam allowance. So this is the method that I'm using. Like I said, I'm still trying to find which method I really like and want to use. And what you do, the idea with the invisible zipper is you sew it to the seam allowance. You don't sew it to your skirt. So I have it all pinned just on one side of my seam allowance. And I'm just going to put a basting stitch in it right now just to hold it in place. If you don't know what a basting stitch is, it's just your longest machine stitch, the length that your machine can go up to. Mine goes up to a 5. And a basting stitch is just to hold things in place until you're ready to put your permanent stitch in. So that's what I'm doing right here with the zipper. And as you can see, when you're done, it's not really invisible, so we're not done yet. So we're going to go ahead and baste the other side to the seam allowance only, and we're going to put a basting stitch in that as well. And again, you're only using your seam allowance, and so that's your zipper when it's all basted. So the idea of the invisible zipper is to sew as close as you can to your coils without sewing your coils. So as you're sewing, it's good to just pull over the coil so you can get right in that groove. So just take your time, go as slow as you need to, just to get it right in the groove of the zipper. Once you're all done, once you're all done with one side, go ahead to the other side. And once you get down to as far as you can go, you can just stop right there. There's no need to try to work around that zipper pull. Now, I just watched another video recently where they completely had the zipper pull out of the way. So I will link that video and in the description box for you. You can check that out if you need more methods on how to do your zipper foot. Right here, I'm just closing up the gap between the zipper foot and I'm attaching it to that first seam that I did, closing up the bottom of my skirt. And so now your zipper foot is in and it's nice and invisible now, which is great. That's the goal every time you put an invisible zipper in. So next up, we're going to move on to the facing. And first, we have to put interfacing on our facing. And you interface to the wrong side of your fabric. And so with facing, you have a smooth side and a bumpy side. The bumpy side is where the glue is. So you will want to put the glue side to the wrong side of your fabric and press it down so that the glue will stick and fuse to your fabric. Once you have it all fused together, you're going to go ahead and find your notches that are on your sides because we need to sew your facing pieces together. So once you find your notches, go ahead and put pins in them, and then you can sew them down using a 5/8 inch seam allowance. And one more thing with your facing, you need to go ahead and finish the other side that doesn't have notches on it, which would be the curved side. However you finish it, whether you fold up 1/4 of an inch or serge it or pick and shears, once you have that done, make sure you go ahead and give it a press, and then it is time to attach it to the skirt. We're going to start at our notches pinning, and we're just going to pin all the way around. Once you're done at the notches, then you can move on to the side seams. Once you're all pinned and ready to go, you can take it to the machine, put it on a 5/8 inch seam allowance, and just sew all the way around the skirt. Make sure that you back stitch at the end when you're done. Now we need to press that seam up toward our facing. Once you have it pressed, now it's time to do a understitch. And with the understitch, you're just sewing your seam allowance to your facing. You're not sewing the skirt. If you need to see more with the seam allowance, I have a video on pattern glossary stitches where I showed you how to do it understitch, so you can check that out when you leave here. Once you're all done attaching the facing to the skirt, your understitch should look just like this. It should be really, really close to the edge without sewing the skirt. You're only attaching the seam allowance to the facing. Once you have that, you can go ahead and give it a press. And then next, we need to go ahead and finish the end of the facing by sewing it to the zipper tape. Now make sure that you don't sew the zipper teeth, only the tape. Make sure you backstitch at the beginning and the end. And then when you're done, you want to trim off some of that corner. It's always good to take the bulkiness out, so when you flip it in, it'll be less bulky as possible. And so there you have it, your nice clean zipper. Last thing would be is to attach the facing down to the skirt. That's just to keep it from bunching and moving when you're wearing it. You can do that with some needle and thread, putting a couple tacks in the seam allowance only, or with some bonding fuse. You can iron that on to stick it down to the skirt. Now the last step in the skirt is to do your hem. You can go ahead and finish your edge. You can fold up 1/4 of an inch, or you can serge like I always do. And then I just pressed up my hem to where I wanted my length. And now I'm just putting a straight stitch on a 5/8 seam allowance, and I'm sewing all the way around. The directions do say to slip stitch, but it's your choice. You can slip stitch if you want. I just use my machine stitch. And when I'm done, I'm gonna press it, and you're all finished with your skirt. Thank you for joining me in this video. I do hope it helped. Let me know in the comments how it turned out for you, and I'll see you in the next video. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Blessings, everyone. Bye.